Rishikesh. I'm not part of the MVT, we are part of Bhakti Yoga Rishikesh, so we are doing these kirtans, wisdom talks, but this is our equipment, so that's why they called me to come. So I'm just an unknown person. But we are very happy that you are here, and she asked me to introduce Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So, how many of you know Chaitanya Charan Prabhu? Okay, for those of you who don't know him, he is a very special speaker and also sadhu. You know what sadhu means? Like a person who very sincerely practices his spiritual life and not just talks about it but puts it in a practice. And for more than 30 years he's traveling around the world, giving talks. He's giving more than 500 talks in 1 year. So 365 days, 500 talks. You know how many talks. So today he's not just giving to you, he's giving 2 more talks. He's going all the way to Dehradun and then he's going to ISKCON Rishikesh. So he's very much, how to say, seeked for speaker. Everybody wants him to come because he's very wise. He's actually a spiritual scientist, one of my very dear teachers, and he actually knows really well how to present Vedic wisdom, very deep truths, in a very easy way. So he will be speaking very easy, and you will think, oh, that this is something very easy. But actually, the great saints from the ages, they are totally confused about those spiritual truths. You know, and he very easily connects all of that and presents it in an easy way, and he uses also graphical methods to make it very easy. So we are very fortunate to be here and to have him. By the fortune, he joined us for a couple of days, and then you also came. So, you know, like, and it's all, I'm saying that because how much receptive you are, more wisdom he could be able to transmit to you. So please use this opportunity, and also he likes questions, so you are very welcome to ask him questions. I suppose there will be time. So yeah, please greet him with one big applause.
That was not enough. No, I don't want to take time from him. I would like all of you to hear from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I just wanted to let you know that me and my sister know Chaitanya Charan Prabhu since 2010, and we have been listening to his talks. And in 2013, me and my sister were listening to his lectures since 2010. And in 2013, when we found out that he's coming to Chicago, our city, and he's a monk, right? So somebody told us Chaitanya Charan is coming to Chicago, and me and my sister were in the temple in 2013, and we started jumping. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is coming, you know, and they were like, he's a monk. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you know, but our excitement for having Prabhu, and we were like, wait a second, did we hear it right? The Chaitanya Charan is coming, and they're like, yes, he's coming, you know, and we were jumping in ecstasy that he is coming to our city. So that was the first time we saw him in 2013 out of screen, you know. And after that, 2013, like there would not be even a single day that me and my sister did not listen to his lectures. And I would send him all the summary of the lecture that I heard, and he would tell me that, did I speak that? And he was like, yeah, you did, you know. So we would diligently listen to his talks and classes, and it has helped me and my sister in our faith, specifically because we are scientists and we had so many questions, and he would always answer our questions. He has written more than 30 books, thousands and thousands of articles on Bhagavad Gita. So if you guys go to www.geetadaily.com, you can find all his articles in such relatable way. I would read those articles like every day, like they're so beautiful. And I don't know, you guys tolerated me for first 4 or 5 days when I was speaking to you. All my talks that I shared with you, wisdom that I shared with you, Control C, Control V. Or Command C, Command V for Mac, you know. All from Chaitanya Charan, like spiritual but not religious, like the deities I shared, with, like purpose, everything is coming from Chaitanya Charan. Like he is my primary, like Radhanath Swami is my spiritual teacher who gave me the beads and the name, but my primary teacher from whom I take wisdom from is Chaitanya Charan. Like I've been hearing him for last 13 years, like, so he's my, like, I'm like, he's my guru. Like, where is Mary Beth? Yeah, he is my guru, you know. So, so thank you so much, Prabhu, for coming. Like we are so inspired by you. Like me, my sister, even Badder. Like so yeah, so he's gonna talk to us on the topic of like karma, destiny, and free will. And if you guys feel, if you guys have more questions, because he's gonna speak to us only for today. But if you guys have questions, you can always email him or talk to him like personally. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. After that, whatever I speak is going to be an anticlimax now. So my name is Chaitanya. You can think of, the English, the Indian drink chai. You know the female name Tanya. Think of Tanya taking chai. That is Chaitanya. So it's a joy to be here with all of you. So the twins Saki and Gopi, they are the most energetic devotees in the entire planet. They've been bringing this tour for many years now, and I had the opportunity some years to be with them. This year, I could not be with them, but then I wanted to be at least of some service to meet all of you. So we worked it out in such a way that in Rishikesh we could be there together for at least one day. And India can be both alluring and bewildering. So if you have an experienced group in which you go together with guides like them, then it's much more possible to not be disrupted by the surface and to experience the deeper spiritual side of India. So, before we begin, let us try to center ourselves a little bit. So, wherever you are, you can try to sit comfortably. We'll take 3 deep breaths and then we'll utter the sound Om together. We'll draw out the Om long. It's with O, the middle part. And so, let's close our eyes and take 3 deep breaths. 1. 2. 3. Let's utter the Om together now. Let's repeat this 2 more times. This time, while you're breathing in and breathing out, you can do a gentle scan of your body, starting from your feet upwards. Wherever you notice any tension, just squeeze and release to relax yourself as you breathe in and breathe out. 1. 2. 3. 4. Together, Om. One last time. This time as we breathe in and breathe out, let's do a gentle scan of our face. Much of the tension in our body resides in our face, on our forehead, in our eyes, on our jaw. So wherever you notice any tension, just squeeze and release as we breathe in and breathe out. 1. 2. 3. 4. last time together. Om. Take a couple of gentle breaths and then you can open your eyes. Thank you. So, today I'll talk about a question that comes to every human being during the course of life. That is, there are two fundamental truths for life as we experience it. One is choice, and the other is chance. Everything that happens in life, there is some role played by our choice and some role played by chance. Now, different worldviews and different philosophies may try to analyze how much is the role of choice, whether we have any choice at all or not. And then there is a chance is not actually chance is karma, chance is some divine plan, chance works for something. But from our perspective of experience, basically there is choice and there is chance. Everything that happens in our life, that when you came to this trip, there is an element of choice that you decided to come. But then when you come here, you don't know exactly which place you're going to, you don't know exactly how the travel arrangements are going to be. And although they are very competent organizing, even they don't know. That is the element of, when you come to India, you have to surrender to India, isn't it? That they make the best arrangements possible. And they're planning this tour for the start of the year. So to some extent, we try to make the choice as much as possible, try to increase the role of choice and try to make the choice as good as possible. But then there is always the element of chance. And these two are constantly interacting, and if we consider in any situation that comes in our life, there is choice and there is chance. So now it's not that it is 50-50%. Sometimes it will be 90% choice and 10% chance. Sometimes it will be 10% choice and 90% chance also. But the fact is, both of these are constantly acting in our life. So I will take this as a starting point, and I'm going to speak on three main points today. I'll be using the acronym ART for understanding this. The first point is acceptance. Acceptance that life is an unpredictable blend of these two things. Sometimes we are talking with someone and we think we're making a simple, reasonable point, and we think that the other person will listen to us. But what happens? That person just gets angry. Says, you are always dominating. You always want it your way only. You don't listen to me at all. And see, what happened over here? I was just making a small, reasonable point. So when it is that we may think in this particular situation, it's mostly a matter of choice. But what the combination is often quite unpredictable. And now what happens if we consider everything that I speak will be in terms of this diagram, a 4-quadrant diagram. There is choice that can be positive. That means we make a good choice. Or choice can be negative, where we make a bad choice. Now chance is whatever is beyond our control. That can work out positively or that can work out negatively. Now generally in relationships, when we are interacting with others, whenever there is anything that goes wrong, the normal human tendency, if it's I who am responsible, then I will say it was chance. And if the other person got us into the wrong situation, we will say it is Choice. You did it deliberately to make a mess of things. You know, I forgot that. It was just, there were so many things on my mind. I forgot it. It's just by chance. You know, you deliberately want to irritate me. That's why you do things to vex me. You forgot that intention. You didn't forget it, you neglected it intentionally. So quite often, how choice and chance interact, that generally when we ascribe any situation that is happening, there is to some extent we need to assess. Is this happening by choice? Did I do something wrong? Can I fix something? Did somebody do something wrong? Can it be fixed? Or is it by chance? Now we will move forward and try to explore what chance is and how it works. But broadly, the first stage is recognizing that both of these are playing constant roles in us. Now if I consider these 4 quadrants over here, the choice is positive, chance is negative, both of them are negative. Chance is positive, choice is negative, and both of them are positive. Which is the best situation to be in? 4th, isn't it? So choices, so let's take simple example of choice and chance. Say, we invest money somewhere. Now, we did some good research, we found that this particular shares or this particular investment, this seems to be a good investment. And we think if I put my money over there, it should increase. So we made an informed choice. But then, we expected maybe our money will grow at 10%, 20%, and the stock doubles or triples. And so choice works out positive, and choice is positive, and chance also works out positive. Then we will get very good results. Now, sometimes it may be that we make a good choice, we are informed, we consult others, but despite our best choice, sometimes something unpredictable happens. There is geopolitics is boiling up even more in the last few months or years. So the market may crash. And despite our best efforts, it is chance. And chance works against us, and whatever we invested, we lose the money. Now, it can also happen that we are reckless. Now, we didn't think. Somebody just told us invest, and maybe we were a bit drunk, or maybe we were distracted, and somehow we invested on a whim, and that turns out a master stroke. And people say, what a genius. Yeah, I'm a genius. So sometimes our choice may be negative, but chance works out positive. And something just, yeah.
Let me clarify, now we're talking about the third quadrant.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so I am going on from 4th, 1st to 3rd. Yeah. So our money increases, though we did not really do our homework. Sometimes we make a bad investment. We are not careful. And then somehow things become complicated, and we get entangled in it so much. Now, we say, I'll support someone, and that mortgage we support somebody's business, and that business goes bankrupt, and we are involved in that, we also get the mortgage of it or whatever. Things can become worse. So choice also goes bad, and chance also goes bad. So now, among these 4 quadrants, we could say this is the best. Choice and chance work both together. Which would be the worst situation to be in? 2. The choice and chance both work out to be negative. That means we will get the worst results over there. So worst, in terms of generally speaking, the presently what I'll encounter, that is, I get the choice works out, choice is negative, chance works out negative. But the worst in terms of future is actually quadrant 3. Because what will happen is, I made a bad choice, still I got a good result. And I may think that I may take credit for that. And I may not stop making the bad choice. Isn't it? So, it will be in terms of future. So, for example, say, as I said, somebody invests money carelessly. And it turns out to be good. And I think, okay, this worked out good, let me do the same thing again second time. Well, if you do second time, you invest more money, you will lose it more. So in one sense, it can put us more in illusion. That I made a careless choice, but things worked out rightly. So now if we have made choice positive, but chance is negative, this can be discouraging. No, I am doing everything right. Now you can say this is, if I want to put another emotions, this is thrilling. Is it? Hey, things work out so wonderfully. Is it? Now, if this is shattering, I did some mistake, I made some shattering. It is, I made a mistake and things work out chaotically. Now this, I would say, is deluding. We are deluding ourselves. So, if we consider these broadly the 4 quadrants in life, everywhere chance and choice are constantly playing, and we move in these 4 quadrants constantly. So say right now I am giving this talk. Broadly, when I am giving the talk, it's a matter of my choice, what topic I'll speak, how I'll present the topic. Now after this, if we have time for question and answers, when you ask questions, I don't know what kind of questions I'm going to ask. So that becomes more an element of chance. Now some of you may ask questions, I know the answers for, some of them I may not be able to answer. So there is that element of uncertainty over there. Now in life, we are constantly moving from one quadrant to another quadrant. And while we would like to be, say, in quadrant 4, but the thing is, we suddenly move, and we may move without being aware where I am being moved. So you might follow up a good choice with a bad choice, or we might be making a good choice, but the chance might work out negative. And then the same good choice, the same place where I invested money yesterday or last month or last year, and I got very good returns. The same place I invest money this year, and it just, the stocks crash over there. So choice and chance, they're constantly acting in our life. So at one level, this acceptance that there are both of these constantly working, and how they are working, it's not so easy to figure it out. That these can change automatically. Change by factors beyond our control, and sometimes even below our awareness, before we can understand what is happening. So, yeah, please.
Also, like, maybe you're going to speak to this, but like one choice can have both a negative outcome and a positive outcome as well.
Yeah, that's true. Choice can have both negative and positive, but we can say overall, maybe the negative is more than the positive. Maybe the positive is more than negative. Sometimes sometimes you can go also the choice. Sometimes how do you evaluate a choice also? We may say this choice was a good choice, and it's a bad choice. That choice may have an element of good and an element of bad also. So there, of course, this is not life is too complicated to put on one graph, isn't it? But this is more of a indicative map. It's not a descriptive, it's certainly not an exhaustive map. So yeah, so life is much more complicated, but just giving this sense helps. So I'll give one more example to illustrate this point, and then we'll move to the next part. This acceptance means that when things have gone, suddenly, for example, the chance becomes negative, and things suddenly start falling apart. At that time, there is a certain level of acceptance that is required that, okay, sometimes things beyond my control may go wrong. Now, if this acceptance is not there, what can happen? So all of us may face some loss in life. In different cases, it could be the loss of money, it could be loss of a job. Most of you are from America? Sorry. America and Canada, most of you?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I started going to America, I've been going for us 10, 12 years now. One thing that struck me that I haven't heard any American use the word I'm jobless. Most Americans, at least I have heard, I'm between jobs. So, first time I heard it was very striking for me. India is a very competitive country with a lot of population, and recently the government had some 200 vacancies, and there were 2 million people who applied for those 200 vacancies. So, in India, if you lose a job, it's like somebody has died in the home. It's that serious. So, now loss is something we'll all experience in life. But when we experience loss, depending on how we understand this chance choice dynamic, we may not consciously articulate it, but there are three ways we could go to it. I have lost. It's objective. Okay, maybe I made some mistakes. Maybe I gave an interview, but I did not get the job, or I was in a relationship and there is a breakup. So I have lost. That's a fairly objective evaluation. This is where if the acceptance is there, then we can objectively analyze. Okay, I had this, I lost it. This arises from acceptance. But a more damaging vision can be, I am lost. So I have lost is a loss of opportunity. I am lost is a loss of direction, a loss of purpose. If somebody is very invested in a particular career, a particular relationship, and somebody is an athlete, and there is a career-ending injury for them, then I am lost. So this is much more disorienting. Now, the most damaging would be to think, I am a loser. Now, this is where failure has no longer remaining an event, it's becoming a person. I am losing my self-worth itself. I am a loser. So this happens when we lose something, we can definitely say that chance has worked against us. Now maybe our choice was also wrong, but choice and chance, generally if there's a loss, if you go for this quadrant, basically we are either in quadrant 4, we could be in any of the quadrants, but broadly speaking we're not in quadrant 4. Choice and chance work out positively, then we would not have a loss, we would have a gain. So now, when I am a loser, when we are, loss means what role was choice in it, what role was chance in it. We need to be able to objectively evaluate that. So, and then we can learn, okay, sometimes things are just beyond my control, sometimes I have to learn and I have to improve. So choice and chance, we need to be able to evaluate carefully. But when I start thinking I am a loser, what I mean is, what I'm thinking is, it's all, I made such a pathetic choice, the choice is 100% and there is no chance over there. So, and it's not just I made a terrible choice, this is the kind of choices I always keep making. And these are the kind of choices I will always keep making. So, for some people, the problem is that they may not take responsibility when something has gone wrong because of their choice. And they may start blaming the world, blaming people, blaming fate, whatever. And for other people, the problem might be they might take too much responsibility. That sometimes, despite our best efforts, things just don't work out. And when that happens, we need to accept it, not beat ourselves up. So we can go two ways. If we consider, say when loss happens in our life, we could say it's all chance, and then what happens is we will be complacent. We will never learn. We all have interacted, seen people in life who, for whatever happens, it's never their fault. It's everyone else is wrong, they are spotlessly right. So this is going to ruin us. This will lead us to ego, arrogance, and we will never grow in life. But to say it's only chance is bad. But to say that it's only choice, by only choice, what I mean is that I am responsible. I am so messed up. I am such a loser. Nothing is going to work. Now this is going to make us filled with negativity, filled with not just negativity about the world, but negativity about ourselves. It won't make us complacent, it will make us insecure. It will make us paralyzed. So, what is in between when we face any kind of loss? That we need to accept. Accept where we made a mistake, accept where our choice was wrong, and accept where chance played a role. And it could be that our choice was good, but there are many combinations possible. Our choice was good, chance worked out wrong. Our choice was slightly wrong, chance was played a huge role. Our choice was largely wrong, and then chance played some role also. There are many combinations, but the point is choice and chance both go together. So, this brings me to the next point over here. Once we accept that this happened, I was using an acronym. Do you remember what was the acronym? ART, art. So, R is resilience. So, acceptance is about life may knock me down, and that's unfair at times. It just happens. But then I need to rise back up. And how do I rise back up? I'd like to share a personal story. When I came in, you probably noticed that I need crutches for walking. When I was about we were staying in a small town in India, and my mother took me to a nearby clinic to get the polio vaccine. And the polio vaccine is among the most reliable vaccines in the world, and polio is almost eliminated from the world at present. But somehow, because it was a small town, there would be power supply outages over there. So the previous night, the power supply to the clinic had been cut off. Because of that, the fridge in which the vaccines had been kept had got heated up. And because of that, the vaccines had their germs multiplied with them. And neither the attendant nor the physician noticed that. And when I was given the vaccine, instead of preventing polio, it ended up causing polio. So I was about 1, and I was just learning to walk, and I fell down, and I could never walk thereafter normally. Now, I don't remember any of this, but my first memory of this is when I was about 2.5 or 3, and a distant relative had come to our home, and she was consoling my mother. It's so sad, your son got polio. So she was talking with my mother. I was in another part of the house, just crawling. I couldn't walk. So I still remember my mother's voice, very calm, clear, confident. She said, whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually. Now, I don't know why she said that. She passed away soon after, so I didn't get to ask her. But whether it was an observation that she made, maybe I showed some intellectual ability, whether it was her prayer, her hope, her blessing, whatever, but it stayed with me. And as I grew up, I found that, yes, I was good at studies. I could remember things when I would read them. I could articulate fairly well. I loved to analyze. Since I started going to school, many of my teachers always had one complaint against me. You ask too many questions. You think too much. And out of respect, I would not reply. But my internal retort was, whenever somebody would say, you think too much, my retort would be, you think too little. So, now, as I grew up, there was a neighboring kid in our community. He used to go to my same school. He was very good at athletics. So, because I was zero at athletics, he would make fun of me, he would tease me, words like cripple and stuff like that. It would annoy me more than hurt me, because I, since my childhood, did not identify much with my physical side. I identified more with my intellectual side. If somebody had called me a fool, I would have really got angry. So now, one day my mother told me that his mother had approached her, and she said that he was struggling in arithmetic, in maths basically, and I was good at maths. So she wanted that I should help him. And even before my mother completed my request, I said, no, I'm not going to help him. So my mother said, no, they are our neighbors, and he's your friend. I said, he's not my friend. I don't want to help him. So, but she insisted. Then I relented. And when I started helping him, within 10-15 minutes, when I spent with him, I was trying to explain, and it struck me that he had an impressive physique, but there seemed to be nothing between his ears. This is not in a derogatory sense. So objectively, he was trying to understand, but he just couldn't understand. He just didn't have that IQ, that intellectual capacity. So one part of me wanted to laugh at that time. But something stopped me. Many years later, I specifically articulated it like that. But it was that he would laugh at me for my physical limitation, and he had an intellectual limitation. If I laugh at his intellectual limitation, then how am I really different from him? So, basically, everybody can say that life is unfair. And it is true. I could turn around and say that, what did I do to deserve this physical disability? And that is true. But then I could also turn around and ask the question, what did I do to deserve this intellectual ability? Isn't it? So in some ways, life works out against us. Going back to our chance choice framework, in some ways, chance works against us. So you could say it was just bad luck, it was chance that I got polio. But then, I could say by chance, I also have got intellectual ability. So life is unfair in some ways, but in the big picture, life is fairly unfair. Fairly unfair means that in some ways, chance works against us, in some ways, chance works for us. Now, I don't want to be simplistic and say that it's all 50-50%. Like some people have an extremely hard life, and you could say it's the 90% of what happens to them, it's unfair. But still, if we are alive, if we're just alive, then there is more right than wrong with us. As we go through life, that we realize that we are so vulnerable. One bang from outside or one bug from inside can just end our life. So if we are alive, there is more right than wrong with us. So the single most important decision we are going to make in our life is, what are we going to focus on? How life is unfair to me, or how life has been fair to me? Are we going to focus on all the times when chance worked out against us? Or are we going to dwell on how chance has worked for us also? So if we focus on how life has been unfair to us, we will go through life being resentful, being negative, being frustrated, being jealous of others for whom life seems to be better. If we can focus on what is fair in our life, we all can be resourceful. Resourceful means whatever resources we have, that whatever chance is given positive in our life, we can try to maximize it. So this resilience, so for me, for example, in my mother's words, helped me to focus on my intellectual ability. Now in some ways, as I said, my mother passed away when I was in the teens. Somehow this incident, it went back into my memory. It shaped me very deeply at one level, but it was not in my conscious memory for a long time. For a long time rather. So I never got to ask my mother, if from her perspective, she could have been burdened by guilt. I took my son to this clinic. Maybe I could have taken that to some other clinic. Maybe I was responsible. But she remained positive, and she helped me to be positive. So the idea here is that for all of us, we can be either resentful or resourceful. Now here, what is the key to resilience over here? How do we learn what does resilience in this context mean? So let's put it in terms of, if we consider our life in terms of a timeline of our life, what happens that I'll put how much choice do we have at times in life? So the graph of choice versus time. So sometimes choice is high, sometimes choice becomes low, that means chance plays a high role. So what happens? These are phases in life. There are phases when choice may be high, and then suddenly choice may become very low. Then again, choice may be very high. Then choice may become almost zero. Then we may have a little more choice. Then the choice goes a little down. Then choice goes up. So basically, we are alternating in life. There are some times when we have greater choice, sometimes we have very little choice. Let's consider the exact example of tennis. Now, in tennis, there are sometimes the player is serving, sometimes the player is returning. Now, when the player is serving, the element of choice is much more. The player can decide whether I want to serve on the forehand, the backhand, into the body, what pace, what height, how much spin. Everything the server can decide. So there the choice element is very high. Now, when the player is returning, the choice element becomes much lower. The player can try to anticipate, is the serve going to go on the forehand or the backhand, and can try to prepare. But where should I stand? Should I stand here or there? Is the serve going to be reachable or not reachable? Now, sometimes it may happen that the opposing player is like an ace machine. Every single serve is just unreachable. And the player can become completely discouraged. How can I ever play against such a player? Who's just, I can't even reach. It's just practically zero for me. So now, the thing is that yes, it could be that when the opposite player is serving, there is absolutely no element of choice. All the 4 serves might be aces, and you just lose that game without being able to do anything. But that player's turn to serve is also going to come. And when that player's turn to serve comes, that's the time, okay, now my choice is much more I can do. So let me focus on my choice. Let me serve as well as I can. Let me shake off whatever happened in the previous game. This is a new game. This is new dynamics. Let me focus on that. So if the player does that, the player can actually put a good performance and maybe can unnerve or unsettle the opposite player and can win the match also. So the thing is, choice and chance, they keep changing in our life. And resilience becomes especially difficult. The opposite of resilient would be fragile, would be brittle. But I will use the opposite of resilient over here as attached. And I'll explain what I mean by attached. The opposite of resilient in this particular framework is attached or fixated. For how many of you this is the first time you came to India? Oh, a good number. Did you have a jet lag when you come here? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It's difficult. I traveled almost 15-20 times to America and India. When I come back, it's still, each time you get a jet lag. So what happens is our body is physically in India, but the circadian rhythms are still according to what it was in America. So it takes time for the body to catch up. So just like there can be travel jet lag, similarly for many of us, there is a mental jet lag. What do I mean by mental jet lag? The Gita explains that our existence is 3 levels. We are spiritual beings. There's the soul. There's the soul, there is the mind, and there is the body. So, soul, mind, and body. The 3 levels of reality for us. This is like a computer system in which there is the hardware, which is like the body. The mind is the software. And the soul is the user. So now, what happens is, through the body, outer stimuli come in and they reach the soul. The soul is the source of consciousness. From the soul, awareness, the energy of awareness goes out. If I consider, say, over here. Can you see this light over here? The beam of light coming out? So that the source of light is the soul. The beam of light coming out is consciousness. So from the soul, consciousness comes out and we are aware of different things. But the consciousness comes out through the mind. And then it goes to the body and then it goes out. So right now when you are listening to me, each one of you is a spiritual being. Now when you are listening to me, maybe you are feeling tired after yesterday's travel. Maybe you are eager to go and see the Himalayas or the Ganga. And a part of you is saying, when will stop, get over, I want to leave from here. And if your mind is somewhere else, then what happens? You may not be able to focus and connect with the talk. So quite often for us, our mind and body can be at different places. And normally, we call this as distraction. And then sometimes somebody we're talking and their eyes are glazed. Just come back to earth, come back to earth. Where are you gone? So normally distraction can be slightly annoying. Sometimes it can be quite damaging if you're driving a car and we are not attentive to what is happening. But these are somewhat noticeable forms of the mind and the body being out of sync. Where our body is, our mind is not there. But what damages us even more is that, so basically to put it another way, what happens? The soul is always here. The body is here, but the mind has gone somewhere here. So what happens? Part of the consciousness is here, most of the consciousness has gone over here. And then we are distracted. So ideally speaking, the body and mind need to be in one line with the soul, then perception can happen. So if I put here, in this particular diagram, say this is the soul, I'll put the body in yellow, and I'll put the mind here in red. Not that the mind is a bad thing, but here we are trying to understand the sync principle. So what may happen in our life, if I go back to this particular diagram, that say initially choice was more for me. So choice was more, and then things changed, and suddenly choice became less. So when we decide, okay, should I take this? I have opportunity to take a job in 3 companies. This company, this company, this company, this place, this place, this place. Now at that time, it's our choice. But once we take a job, then what happens is we don't really control the work environment over there. We can't really control what kind of boss we are going to get. We can't control what kind of work. To some extent we can predict, but we can't really control what kind of work we are going to have. So what happens is our body, if you consider, physically we are in this level. That means our body is right now in the low choice phase. But our mind is stuck in the high choice phase. And because of that, it's like we are not dealing with the situation. We are dealing with our mind, which is not dealing with the situation. And then this is where there's a lot of internal blockage comes up. And so then what happens? Okay, in this situation, I really can't do much. So low choice does not mean that my life has ended. Low choice does not mean that this is how things are going to be. But low choice does mean that at present I can't do much. We have a hospital, which is a spiritual unit hospital in Mumbai called Bhaktivedanta Hospital. Have you gone there by chance? No. So there I serve as a spiritual advisor over there. And we have a spiritual care department where patients who come, we offer them medical treatment, but we also try to offer them some spiritual support. So one of the spiritual caregivers was telling me that there are patients who are sick, but sometimes they are so bitter, so much complaining, so rude, that they are sick and they make their caregivers sick of them. So now, what is happening? Yes, you are sick. And maybe they had plans, I want to do this, I want to do that, and suddenly now they are bedridden. It's frustrating. But okay, you're sick. Just accept that now. Just be graceful about it. But what happens? The mind stays stuck in the phase where I should have choice. Why was my choice taken away? But yeah, now we've gone to that low phase choice. So at one level, so I said the opposite of resilience is attachment. Attachment means the mind is staying in the high choice phase even when the body has come to a low choice phase. Now this can be frustrating, that we just become resentful. This is bad, but what is even worse is that later on our choice may increase. Now we have come to a place where we are in a high choice phase, but what is happening at that time? Our mind is still in that low choice phase. So, then what happens? Now you have become healthy, you are discharged from the hospital. But what if I fall sick again? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if all things keep going wrong? And then we start thinking that actually there is no element of choice for me. or my choice doesn't matter at all. Life is so cruel, life is so unpredictable. And even when we could do something, we stop doing anything. So to a large extent, resilience, so attachment means what? Our mind stays stuck in the phase which we were in previously. Now at one level, that's a problem. After some time, we'll pull ourselves back. But suppose one phase stays for a little more time. Say somebody is in this driver's seat for a good amount of time. And then suddenly, they're no longer in the driver's seat. Then it's difficult for them to accept that. Then some people who have always thrived in a high choice environment, they're put in a low choice environment, they just become totally frustrated. And if somebody has been in low choice environment for a long time, suddenly they're put in a high choice environment. Then they just don't know what to do. They have opportunities, but they don't use the opportunities. So in one sense, the key to resilience is that resilience cannot be built without acceptance. So acceptance is that, yes, sometimes beyond my understanding, I may change from a choice phase to a chance phase. And this is just the way life is. But whatever phase I am in, I can act in sync with that phase. Rather than craving for being in some other phase or lamenting, resenting that I am not in some other phase, let me act according to what I can. So, during the low choice phase, if we still make good choices, if you are sick in the hospital, you can't do much. But still, maybe you can be polite to your caregivers. Try to express some gratitude to whoever is helping us, offering us care. What will happen by that? If when we have less choices, we make good choices, then when we have more choices, we go into a high choice phase, we will be better situated to make good choices. So, in that sense, when I'm talking about choice and chance, what happens is, it's not so much a matter of choice when I say a low choice phase or a high choice phase. A choice is always there, but low choice phase means the range is very small. And high choice means that the range is very high. So, like if we are in a place where there are only two food items to eat, one is a bit healthy, the other is a bit unhealthy. Now, we can resent whatever choices we have, but if we make the unhealthy food choice, then in future we go to a place where there are 100 food choices. And maybe there are 50 good choices, or maybe 90 good choices, good healthy food choices. But we look for the unhealthiest food and we'll eat those foods. So here, what happens is that the mind gets habituated to acting the way we have acted previously. And so if somebody keeps either not exercising their choice, is blaming chance, or exercising their choice negatively, then that's how their mind will get programmed. And they will keep acting in that way. So, one simple way to develop resilience is to change our driving question. What is the question going on in our mind? So, for example, right now you are hearing this talk. If for some of you the question that is going on, when will this talk end? That will be a question there. Now, we all have some questions going on inside us. So, there is a question, what if? You know, what if that what if that hadn't happened like that? What if I hadn't spoken like that? The what if can be both about negative choice or negative chance. That when we are in a difficult situation, we can keep asking the question, what if? And this is disempowering. Instead of asking, what if? We can start asking, what is? What if this, I had done this? What if that had happened? What if things had worked out like that? Instead of, okay, what is the situation? So what is the domain of choice for me now? And what is in the domain of chance for me? So if we just focus on this, we will find that however we are situated, we will, okay, this is the domain of choice for me right now. And let me act within that domain. So from that foundation, we will learn to be resilient. Resilient essentially means even when life now knocks us down, life by negative chances, when chance working out negative, takes away our choice. But our choice is never taken away 100%. Choice is always there to some degree. So I talk about this model of the body, mind, soul over here. Let's go back to this model once to understand how choice works. This is the body, this is the mind, and say this is the soul. Now choice extends over 3 domains. There is freedom. There is free will. And there is willpower. There are 3 distinct terms. They may seem related, but freedom is at the physical level, at the level of the body. So somebody is in a country where the government is very tyrannical. There, a person may not have any free speech. They speak something which criticizes the country, they may immediately put in jail. In fact, I met one person who had escaped from North Korea. He told that, if you don't every day, it's like a perverse version of religion. If you don't every day praise the current head of state, it's like in spiritual circles you may praise God once or twice or thrice. If you don't praise the head of state twice a day, then the government will come and arrest you for that. And they have random checks. Every house has to have the big prominent picture of the head of state. And they will do random checks if there is even a small particle of dust on that picture. That means you didn't clean it. And you'll be arrested for that. So it's a crazy word in one sense. But the point is there are some places where there will be very, very little, if no freedom. Now freedom is external. Now free will, so now a person, for example, is in the jail. They are put in the correction center. They don't have freedom. But do they still have free will? Free will is an inherent feature of the soul. That free will never be taken away from us. So free will means what? This free will is primarily associated with 3 things. Free will, what do I think about? What are my thoughts? So I could be in prison and I could be thinking, why did this happen to me? Why has this happened? Or I could be thinking, okay, what opportunities do I have in this? Maybe there's some adult learning program. Maybe I can develop some skills. So nobody can control what I think about. My thoughts are only, that capacity to choose what I think about is up to me. Then the second is my attitude. How do I look at the situation? So how do I can say this life is so unfair, it's so bitter, like I can become bitter, or okay, I'm in prison but things could have been worse, I could be starving, at least I have some food, maybe I can do this. I can look, how I look at my situation is up to me. And it's not tab, it's tab. Then what is my behavior in that situation? I cannot control the situation I am in, but how I behave. Viktor Frankl is a famous therapist who wrote a book on, he was in the Holocaust, caught in the prison camp, in the gas chamber, the prison camps over there. And there he noticed that people, when they would be, the Jewish prisoners were there, they had to serve other Jewish people. Now when they would serve food, they would have mostly gravy with a little bit vegetables within it. Now some people, when they would serve food, they would serve all the gravy to others and keep the vegetables for themselves. Some people, they would stir it fully and they would try to give it equal. Some people, they would give all the vegetables to others and keep the gravy for themselves. Now they had no choice what kind of food they were going to get. They had no choice over the quality of the food they were going to get, quality or quantity or variety or anything. But even within that, there is the domain of choice that is there. So now we always have free will. And now in between comes, so free will is at the level of the soul, freedom is at the level of the body. Now at the level of the mind is willpower. Sometimes willpower and free will are conflated. They're considered the same. So free will is I can choose whatever I want to think about. I can choose what attitude I want to have towards particular situation in my life. But whether I can sustain that, whether I can act accordingly, that depends on my mind and the conditionings of my mind. That's why I earlier talked about the programming. Somebody who is habituated to be resentful, their mind becomes programmed in that way, they'll always go in that direction. But that can be changed. Willpower is like a muscle. And the more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes. So, willpower would mean, okay, right now, I bring my mind in sync with my body. I bring my awareness in sync with my actual situation. There's a low choice situation. Let me accept this low choice situation and just do what I can in this situation. So their willpower will be to gracefully accept the low choice and make good choices within that situation. Now, when we come to a high choice phase in our life, their willpower would be to leverage everything that we can do right and maximize the positive future that we can bring in our lives. So for all of us, is understanding this difference. So broadly speaking, we can say that choice is choice and chance. So choice will always remain at the domain of free will. This is where the choice is maximum. And this is where chance is maximum. We may have financial freedom because we have good savings, but then the stock market crashes and then we don't have financial freedom. We have to work a certain number of hours every day just to meet ends meet. So the domain of chance and the domain of choice, they exist at different levels. Now, this is where the last part I'll talk about is that, what is the acronym we're discussing? ART, A-R-T. So T is transcendence. Acceptance, resilience, and transcendence. So now everybody can become resilient in their own way. In one sense, resilience is more of psychological flexibility. A person, okay, this is instead of what if, I ask what is and tune myself to act accordingly. But transcendence is where through our spiritual practices, we can come to a greater level of acceptance and resilience and we can do it faster. So this is the last part I'll talk about how this can happen. Now, transcend literally means to go beyond, to see beyond. So what happens? Here we are going through life at our level of reality, at our level of experience. Certain things are choice, certain things are chance. There are certain things which are okay, I made good choices, that's how I got the result. Despite my best choices, this worked out. So it could be positive, it could be negative. So this is our level of experience and perception. Our perception. Now our perception is not to be denied, but transcendence means that we are all a part of a reality bigger than ourselves. That reality transcends our perception of reality. That the world is far bigger than what I can see. So transcend means to go beyond, means that, okay, what I am seeing, there is some truth to that, but it is not the complete truth. So reality is greater than reality is greater than my perception of reality. That is a simple meaning of transcendence. To go beyond. And what I see is, it is valid, but reality is much bigger. So this is to transcend. Now, another way to put it is that my finite vision, we all have vision, my finite vision is not the final vision. The finite vision is not the final vision. So when we, for example, we practice Bhakti Yoga, we are a part of the Bhakti Yoga tradition, and when we connect with the divine, that what we understand is that what is happening as choice and chance at my level, it's all under some, it's all moving for some higher purpose. Now, I may not be able to perceive that purpose right now. And I may perceive it after a few months, I may perceive it after a few years. But that understanding that there is some higher plan, some higher purpose. There's more going on in life than what I can perceive. Now, one does not even necessarily need to be spiritually minded for this. See, even if we go in any field, if you just study biology, at a biological level, there is so much going on in our body that we are not even aware of. So, reality is bigger than my perception of reality. When I eat food, or right now I'm speaking, now I have put in some thought on the subjects that I'm talking about today, and I'm trying to articulate this as clearly as I can. But still, how does speech work? How does the thought in my head operate my voice cords, and that transform into sound vibration that you hear? I don't know anything about it. Even somebody is a voice artist, very good singer. Sometimes you say this person has a golden voice. If you look at their voice cords, they're not made of gold. Is it? Their voice cords are just like everyone else's too. Maybe if they are practiced to singing or speaking more, maybe their voice cords are a bit stronger. But when they speak or when they sing and the voice comes out so sweetly, even they don't know how it happens. So there is a mystery to life. That generally when when somebody gets depressed, somebody gets frustrated, what is happening is we are thinking my current situation is my permanent situation. My finite vision is the final vision. So this openness that there is a reality is bigger than my perception of reality. If we understand this, then we will not be so shaken by life's ups and downs. When choice becomes high, we won't go into ego. Or I can control everything, I can conquer everything. And when chance goes high, we won't get into a victim mentality or a martyr mentality. Oh, life is always stacked against me. Not like that. So when we engage in spiritual practices, when we say do mantra chanting, we did Om, we did Hare Krishna Kirtan, when we pray, when we connect with transcendence through spiritual practices, what happens is that we start becoming more open to the mystery of reality. Rather than rushing to judgment, oh, this is so terrible, my life is ruined because of this. Okay, this has happened. Let me wait and watch how things work out. So generally speaking for us, normally in the course of life, the world is very big. Oh, world is very big means what happens? Any ups and downs that happen in the world, we go way up and way down. You all probably know people who have huge mood swings. Some people, every day they show up for work. Which person is going to show up, the cheerful person or the fearful person? Cheerful person or the resentful person, we don't know. Sometimes we are living with that person also, and every day when we wake up, we don't know which person is going to wake up today. So life can become very unpredictable. So when the world is very big, the world's ups and downs also shake us very much. And at this point, the divine, if you can use the word God is very small. Yeah, maybe there is some divinity, maybe there is no divinity. It doesn't really matter. When I was introduced to spirituality about 30 years ago, I was so excited by the wisdom. I started sharing it with everyone. So I shared with my friends, my relatives. So one of my uncles, he told me, yeah, God, I have a very good relationship with God. Now, I hadn't seen him go to a temple or read any spiritual books or discuss any philosophy. So I told him, I asked him, what do you mean a good relationship with God? He said, our relationship is mutual non-interference. He is happy there, I am happy here. So now, the thing is, this is where we think God is irrelevant. Maybe he's there, not there. It's like for many people, God is like the spare wheel in their car. If I need it, I'll use it. But as we grow spiritually, when there is spiritual growth, essentially what happens by that? The world starts becoming smaller and God starts becoming bigger. So the world becomes smaller. That means the world's ups and downs also start becoming smaller. That, yes, what I'm experiencing is real, but life has phases. Sometimes good happens, sometimes bad happens. And each one of us is a survivor. We have seen lots of things in our life. So we don't get too elated or too dejected when things go right or wrong, respectively. So what happens? When the world becomes small, we become externally peaceful. There's no need to get too excited by everything that happens. Now, each of us may have our particular personality. Some people may be more expressive, some people may be more stoic. It's not about how we express ourselves, but it's how we process internally. Whether we get too worked up by things or we're able to take things calmly. Now, what happens? Not only that, we understand when God becomes bigger for us, we understand God is not just an abstract concept. The way we understand divinity, that also shapes our relationship with divinity, our perception of divinity. So the divine is a living, loving presence who is acting in our lives. So through the ups and downs of life that are there, through times when choice is high, through times when choice is low, there is a higher purpose that is operating. So what happens? Because we don't take life's ups and downs so seriously, we become externally peaceful. But here, through our spiritual practices, through our internal connection with the divine, we become more internally purposeful. Purposeful means what? That, okay, what is happening over here? So, we approach life with a mood of curiosity. Okay, what is life teaching me today? What does God have in store for me today? You know, what is there for me to learn? How is there a chance for me to grow? So through the negative phases and through the positive phases, we understand that there is a higher purpose, and let me try to sense that higher purpose and act accordingly. Sometimes in a phase of low choice, sometimes in a phase of high choice. I have a friend who is in the military, and he told me that, this is the last example, I'll conclude this, that when he is in the elite force in India's military. So he's telling that when they are on operation, there are phases when they are told what is the big picture. You know, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, and this is how we are going to operate as a team. And then they have greater sense of awareness of what is happening, and they have greater clarity, and then they can act. And now there are some phases in a high stakes military operation, where especially if they have gone into the enemy territory and they are doing some espionage work over there, then nobody knows the big picture. And nobody knows what is the plan, and that is by plan. Isn't it? So the idea is that if one of them gets caught, then the enemy might torture them and force them to tell the whole secret. And then everybody else will get caught, the whole plan will get spoiled. So that here, it's like there are some phases when there is high knowledge, and there are some phases that are very low knowledge. But whether it is high knowledge or low knowledge, they still have the knowledge that there is a plan. And rather than getting frustrated, why did you tell me what we are trying to do? No, this is what you are supposed to do, that's all you need to do. So now they accept that because they are confident that this is the elite unit, there is a good amount of planning done at the top level, and they are being deputed for some mission which is well planned. So like that, transcendence means we see this alteration of high choice and low choice in our life not as arbitrary, that through it all there is something bigger happening in our life. And when we see that, we become internally purposeful. Yes. Okay, if it's low choice, there is something for me to do in low choice, let me do that. There's high choice, let me do all that I can in that choice. And if we live in this way, we will in time realize that something, that what happened to me, why did this happen to me, why did this person do like this? At that time we may feel that what happened to me, but in due course of time, if we look back, we may realize what happened to me actually happened for me. It didn't happen to me, it happened for me. That through it, I was moved in a fresh direction. I was prompted to discover a side of myself that I did not know. That I moved to a better place. So in this way, chance and choice can both work together to take us to a better place in life. If we can learn to be accepting, we can learn to be resilient, and we learn to transcend by our spiritual practices. I'll quickly summarize what I discussed. A broad topic today was about destiny and free will. So I presented this topic of free will and destiny as choice and chance. And we started by talking about 3 points. What is the first point? What is the acronym?
Art.
ART. Art. A was? Acceptance. Acceptance that all of life is a combination of choice and chance. Sometimes choice might be large, sometimes chance might be large. But life is just this. Sometimes the choice is 90% and chance is 110%. Sometimes choice is 10%, chance is 90%. But it's always this combination is there. So once we understand this, then we try to see, okay, which place am I in right now? We discuss about this choice and chance as 4 quadrants. And the best is where choice and chance are both positive and life feels thrilling. Everything is working out. It's like sometimes people feel I have a, the word Midas touch. You touch something, it turns into gold. So life feels to be like that. But sometimes life can be disappointing, where things just don't seem to work out. Now, where we are doing our best, but things are not working out. If nothing seems to be working, if choice is bad, chance is bad, then it is shattering. Feel completely broken. And when chance is still working out positively for us, we may delude ourselves that everything is good. So understanding which quadrant I am in is very helpful to process life. The second was resilience. Now resilience, I talk about it, the opposite of that is attachment. Now attachment means that we basically stick to that in life there are phases of, if you can say, choice and time. There are phases of high choice and there are phases of low choice. But these phases keep changing. But if what happens, I talked about the body mind machine, that the body is physically here, but the mind is stuck here. The body is in one phase, the mind is in another phase. And then we lose initiative. So whenever we have I know the example of a tennis match where somebody is serving, they have more choice. When they are returning, they have less choice. But we always have some level of choice. So basically the key to resilience is that we change the question. The question that we are asking ourselves, so asking what if I had made a better choice, what if things had worked out better. Instead of that, we ask, what is? What is the situation right now? We look at what is the choice I have and what is the element of chance right now. And in that way, each one of us can spring up. And the last part was transcendence. So in transcendence, I talked about two levels. Transcendence by understanding the soul and transcendence by understanding God. So by understanding the soul, we discussed how there are three levels at which the dynamic of free will and chance works. At the level of the body, at the level of the mind, and at the level of the soul. So at the level of the body, there is freedom, and freedom can be taken away by chance. This is the maximum chance domain. Then at the level of the mind, there is willpower. Now we may have more or less the willpower based on how we have used ourselves in the past. This is something, it's a muscle which can be increased. And then there is the free will. The soul always has free will. We can always choose, say for example, I talk about tab. What I think about, my thoughts are always by domain of free will. The attitude with which I look at my situation, and then the behavior. Whether I am cheerful or resentful, whether I am graceful or resentful, that is always there for us to choose from. And then, so understanding this particular thing can help us that I always have scope for my free will. That's one basis for resilience. And the second is, when we understand God, we start understanding that life's ups and downs, they'll always be there, but there is a reality that is bigger. Transcendence essentially means that reality transcends my perception of reality. So we will become, the world's ups and downs would affect us so much, so we will become externally peaceful. Because yeah, things will come, things will go, and internally we will become purposeful. Through whatever is happening in my life, there is some higher thing working. There is some bigger purpose for my life. And in this way, when we act, what happened to us, we will eventually realize that it happened for us, not to us. Thank you very much. We have time for questions? Sure. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. You mentioned that by acting in a...
What is God and what is dog?
What?
God, dog.
Todd.
Brian.
Which one?
Mohinder. Just the other way.
It's just God, dog spelled back, God
Yeah.
spelled back. You invert the word.
Okay, thank you. I got it. Thanks.
Yes, please.
you mentioned that if we act in a certain way over and over again, it becomes habitual for the mind. For example, someone who's in mode of passion, mode of ignorance, they're forced to act in that way. So how can they reclaim their free will if they're forced always to act in that way?
Okay. So if somebody is conditioned to act in a particular way, how can they reclaim their capacity to choose? See, ultimately, whatever scope we have, within that we can always choose. So for example, somebody is an alcoholic and they say, I just have to drink. Okay, maybe yes, they have to drink. But still, is it that you drink one glass, one bottle, two bottles, three bottles? No, there is always free will. The scope might be very less, but there is free will. So if my mind tends to think negative, my mind tends to catastrophize. Oh, everything is going to fall apart because this happened. Now, after that happens, that way of my mind's thinking I can't avoid. But I can choose what kind of people I hang out with. If I hang out with people who also catastrophize, then that itself will be going to make things worse. But if I hang out with people who help me to become calmer, then what happens? It's easier for me. So generally speaking, when we talk about the mind has urges. I'm just using the word urges broadly. This could be in terms of desires, it could be in terms of emotions. Desire, suddenly a craving, some addictive craving comes up. Or suddenly a wave of negativity comes up. They just feel everything is hopeless, nothing ever works out. Now, generally, when these things come up, the mind's urges, they are not always at a super high level. Generally, how it works is that they are often at a tolerable level, and then suddenly they spike up. And they come down, again they spike up. Again they spike up intermittently. Now, it is possible when the urges have surges. In those phases, these are the phases where we possibly can't control. Is visible color? Where the phases we can't control. But that doesn't mean these are the only phases. Maybe there are times when there is so much negativity in our life, maybe there's so much craving, we can't control it. But there are also phases when we can control. So rather than worrying about the phases when we can't control, again, the choice and chance applies in the domain of our inner world also. That by chance, the craving might become so much, the negativity, the dejection, the depression might become so much, just can't do anything. But it doesn't stay like that forever. There are some days when we feel slightly better, some days when that goes down. So what we can try to do is focus on the times when things are within the domain of choice for us and maximize that choice. Now, for this period we can't control, for these we need some support systems for us. Support system means what? That what can I do to have support in these times? So if I know if somebody is an alcoholic and try to recover from alcoholism, then there will be times when the craving will become too much for them. Now, if they have some friend whom they can call, they can talk with at that time when the craving is too much. If instead what they do is they have their home right next to a bar. Then when the craving becomes too high, there will be no bar for them to go to the bar. So we create support systems, we create some boundaries, some support sources for those times. And so one aspect of becoming trustworthy is acknowledging when we are not trustworthy. That in these phases, I can't deal with myself. So I have to create some protection for that. There is this, some of you have heard this acronym called HALT. What's HALT? Many times when we are hungry, when we are angry, when we are lonely, and when we are tired. There are times we tend to succumb to our lower side. So if we understand this is likely to happen for me, then try to have some preventive measures to prevent that. That way, we can ensure that those phases don't damage us too much. Okay? Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughtful participation, and I hope that the last 2 days in India are also very good, and that whatever you experienced and relished and learned on this trip, that help you further in your life journey and your spiritual evolution. Thank you.
Thank you.